future, the year 2013, the United States has become a puritanical theocracy that has outlawed anything deemed immoral by its self-appointed lifelong president. Citizens who break these morality laws are deported to the ungovernable hellhole known as Los Angeles Island. After an earthquake ravaged it in 2000, the city of Los Angeles broke off from the mainland and became overrun with gangs, cults, and political radicals. It may not be pretty, but it's the last truly free place in the world. Welcome to Yesterday's Tomorrow Today and the past future world of John Carpenter's Escape from LA.
Welcome to Yesterday's Tomorrow Today, the only movie podcast that is not interested in talking about the actual movie.
I don't know about that tagline. The only movie podcast that's like, whatever.
The only movie podcast that's pretty casual about kind of not really being a movie podcast. No, we are the only movie podcast that is obsessed with not the movies itself, but the worlds that the movies take place in, oftentimes a future that has already passed us by.
I would say all the times.
All
the name of all the times it's a future that's passed.
All the times.
That's like that's our hook.
It's actually the kind of the thesis for the show.
Yeah.
We only do future movies that take place in a future that has already passed.
Yes.
Yes.
In this case, long past.
Long past us. Yes. Today we're talking about John Carpenter's, I guess, notorious film, Escape from LA, a movie that I think was not enjoyed at the time, but I think has now entered a cult status.
Yeah, a movie not enjoyed at the time and not enjoyed in the present time.
I
Maybe for different reasons.
I very much love John Carpenter.
Oh yeah,
He is one of my personal favorites.
everyone's crotchety
and
grandpa
a
movie
huge,
man.
Huge inspiration for me. It is a lesser excursion of his for a number of reasons, which is fine. But yes, Escape from LA was in 1996.
I'm Joey, by the way.
Ah, fuck, man.
Just say,
Are we leaving this in?
oh, whatever, we'll see.
Okay. Say you're Joey.
No, you can go first. Just you're hosting this one.
I'm Kyle McVeigh, one of your hosts.
And I'm Joey Reinish.
And let us walk you through the future of Escape from LA. This film was, of course, came out in 1996, which is 3 years after Jurassic Park, which is relevant, perhaps, to this film.
The way some of it looks.
Yes, but most crucially, as we mentioned in the opener, it takes place in the year 2013, which is now a good decade behind
A decade,
us.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
We know what we should come up with?
What?
We should come up with a name for how far in the future, like what is the blank time
Yes.
that they've set their future from when they made it. You
I
know?
do like that because I think there's I watched Hotel Artemis the other night, and that is a near future, like
Okay.
2028
Oh.
for I think it was in 2018 is when it came out. So it
See,
was like a 10-year.
You're not setting
thing.
it far enough away. Like,
I mean, I think it worked for that movie where it was kind of like you don't want to. I think it's a budgetary thing. Where I think it was a pretty small movie that you wanted some cool future stuff, but you don't want to like.
The further your X value, the more budget the movie has.
I think so. I think that's
Okay.
part of it. You don't want to set it too budgetarily. We don't want to set it where we're in space.
Right.
All right. We don't got the cash for
But then
that.
you can only be in corridors.
Corridors.
You
are
can
pretty
go
sweet.
so far into the future. You're
that is
just
just
in corridors.
corridors. Yeah, and they can be samey.
Yeah.
And that could be part
It
of
could
it.
be
That-
all the-
thematically, that could work. That'd be pretty cool. Yes. So, yes, Escape from LA, much benign. I feel like it is, of course, directed by John Carpenter. Once again, starring Kurt Russell, reprising the role of Snake Plissken, who I believe is so iconic. I mean, it's so iconic that Kojima was like, I'm stealing it.
Wholesale.
Wholesale stealing it for my most famous video game series. I'm literally going to call him Snake.
Call me Snake.
That's like him for the first 15 minutes of this movie.
It's Snake.
It's Snake.
Call me Snake.
Call me Snake.
Snake.
I also love that when he first shows up, she's like, he's so retro looking, and then they give him future clothes and they suck.
And they look older than everything else. They make him look way more 90s dated than he does now.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yes, this movie,
at least they give him like sexy boots.
they do give him sexy
They're like,
boots.
the boots are too smooth that I'm like, why is he wearing
It's
sexy
also,
boots?
he's shirtless in this movie, and then it's like, oh, I miss action stars when they were shirtless.
Hairy?
I was just like, I think I can work out enough to get to that.
To dad bod.
I feel like I can get to Kurt Russell dad bod and Escape from
You
LA.
just gotta get that big cobra.
I just gotta watch my diet,
You
and
know?
then get the cobra from my dick to my chest tattoo.
What is the other half of that cobra doing?
It's wrapped around his balls.
That's
for sure.
exactly what I was
100
thinking.
100% for sure.
Hmm.
It was also written by Carpenter, Kurt Russell himself,
What?
and longtime producer Deborah Hill, who co-wrote Halloween with.
Well, I mean, that
Carpenter.
makes sense.
Yeah, she was like a longtime producing partner in it. But yeah, Russell, you could talk about a lot of things. I think, maybe having your star involved that intimately is maybe not the
It's
best
probably
idea,
not the
but
best, yeah.
kind of hard to tell.
How far? This was like over a decade after New York, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
yeah.
that was
think
70s, I think.
Yeah, maybe late 70s or very early 80s. One or the
I'll
other.
look it up while we're going.
But yeah, just to kind of cover the quick plot of it, which is pretty great. The president's daughter, who's named Utopia,
81.
okay, that makes sense, has been radicalized by a separatist known as Cuervo Jones.
Good name.
While inside her VR head, like in her VR space.
Yeah.
So like already we're like,
Facebook.
yeah, she's inside Meta.
Yeah.
And she met Cuervo Jones, which kind of makes sense. She was radicalized on Meta on Facebook.
Yeah.
I love that in this movie, the way they found out Cuervo Jones exists is they found one
Clip.
shot of him releasing a dove,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
which of course, what teenage girl could resist? She steals a black box, which is some sort of new secret government tech. They won't say what it is. And of course, she crashes in Los Angeles Island, which is where Cuervo Jones resides.
And this is why I'm glad I didn't have a daughter.
Yeah, which it your sons would do this in a heartbeat.
They'd steal my black
They'd
box.
steal your black box.
For a lady releasing a dove.
Absolutely.
Or
would.
a dude, whatever.
I think I might. Which of course you may recognize. Very similar to Escape from New York setup. So Snake Plissken is brought in as the only man that can retrieve the black box and murder the president's daughter.
At the insistence of the president.
At the insistence of the president, who doesn't have a name, by the way.
Oh,
His
okay.
name is
President. Mr.
President, which is awesome.
I could see Trump being like, "You kill my daughter."
Call me. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, especially now.
absolutely. Oh, this future is very. Honestly, he kind of fucking nailed it. But anyway, so they send in Snake Plissken. They inject him with a virus that's gonna kill him in like 8 hours. Your standard setup
Your
for this
standard
sort of
thing.
movie. And then along the way, he meets Map of the Stars Eddie, Steve Buscemi, Pipeline, an old surfer who I think is Henry Fonda, that's played by Teslima, and then maybe not the best portrayal of a trans person on film, Hershey Las Palmas. You know how
AKA?
Hershey's spelled?
HER.
HERSHE. Yeah,
That's good.
not great.
That's good.
And then eventually Snake soon finds out that the black box is a targeting system for a weapon satellite known as the Sword of Damocles, which can create an EMP blast anywhere in the world. Basically, in the end, Snake plays murder basketball, surfs, skyglides, recovers the black box, kills Cuervo, rescues Utopia, and pulls one over on the president by doing a worldwide EMP blast, sending everyone back to the Stone Age, which actually I think the ending's the best part of this movie.
It's good.
It's perfectly on brand for Snake,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's pretty dope.
This, I mean, how many times are they gonna capture him and be like, "You have to do this thing for us,
Yeah.
or we'll kill you"?
What do you think
Or-
would have been the next island?
I,
What's a place that would have been a new Florida? If they
Ooh.
did it now, it'd be Florida,
it'd
right?
be Florida.
Yeah.
I think
And it'd just be in Disneyland, right? Or Disney World, which they kind of do at the end of this movie. They go to Disney World, but can't call it Disney World at
Right.
the end.
I think they needed to eventually. The next Snake movie would have been like Road Warrior esque era.
Okay. Well, yeah, because that makes sense. Because you would have fallen out. Yeah. So you wouldn't even do an island again. Well, maybe. I don't know.
What are you escaping? The apocalypse.
The
Kyle.
apocalypse.
Escaping
He's-
the escape
he's
the
back-
future.
That's
He's
how
gonna
you get
travel
That's
back
how
in
you get an
time.
apocalypse. The
And that's
apocalypse.
why-
You're swimming in it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Um,
Boy, this movie is not good, but I think it has a lot of good future in it.
I'm like conflicted about this movie. Like I said, I love John Carpenter. I think that I think it's a fun movie to watch. I think the CGI is distracting. We
Yes.
can leave it at that. That's fine. It is very
the
much
shark,
to the movie's detriment.
There's a shark that bites the long turd sub that all looks like CGI from Mist of the video game circa
Yes.
1996.
Yes, but it does have a great like. I'm actually shocked when I was watching it for this. It's a very rich future world. Like
It
they
is.
do a lot of setup. Like
do.
like you very much understand this future. America is like this puritanical theocracy, right? Where
Which the A to Z of that, like getting to that, there's like, and then the president is now lifelong.
yeah, he
Like,
amended the
what?
Constitution, and now he's like, I don't know, man. We lived it. This is like as I was watching, I was like, damn, I think he kind of nailed it for the most part. Like it makes a lot of sense. Like there's what
No
was
drugs, no women.
Yes.
No
no smoking, no drugs, no drinking,
Corden-
no women
Corn
unless
LA
you're married.
from the United States
Yes.
is no longer our problem.
What else is it? No red meat, no foul language, no guns. So they nailed everything except the guns thing.
So yeah, we
We would
went
have
the
definitely,
opposite.
if this future was real right now, guns are on the table.
Guns are on the table. Is the inland? Is that more Demolition Man?
I think the inland of America in this America is basically just normal.
Oh
I don't think it's like post-apocalyptic.
yeah, no.
I think
don't
it's
either.
like how, I mean, I think the distressing, I imagine everything outside of New York and everything outside of Los Angeles Island is basically as it is now.
yeah.
Like it's just kind of people in the suburbs that have just kind of slowly been like had every right taken away from them slowly over time and are just kind of like trying to be chill with it. You know?
You know how many times watching it, like, because the first time I saw this, I had never been to this
Mhm.
city.
Yeah.
And then seeing it this time, being like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, I've been there. This isn't fiction. This just looks like an everyday Tuesday. Am I right? People driving by, shooting guns on the freeway,
Sure.
and not being allowed to leave the city, and
I mean,
lawlessness.
depending on where you live in LA, it does feel like you're sort of trapped.
Yeah,
That's kind of true.
it should feel more far-fetched.
Yes.
for what they're telling us.
Well, my thing with so like in general, I think they got the broader strokes of America right.
yeah,
And
except
I
for the
really
guns.
and that future.
yes,
But I do think my issue with like, which I kind of was what I really thought was going to be fun about this movie. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember them really leaning into the LA of it all, but they really don't.
no.
They do a couple times. We can talk about it in a little bit, but like, I really wish they had gone full Carpenter and really like leaned into like, oh, here's all these weird subcategories of
gangs and
people and
stuff.
like with like LA specific things. But like so they kind of miffed it on that, but I think the future that they lay out of like America slowly moving very right to
Mhm.
like an extreme and then
just being like, fuck it, lifelong president
yeah,
and Christian.
let's just say the quiet part out loud
Yeah,
and then we're just going to deport anyone that breaks any of these morality rules, which I'm sure are very vague, to Los Angeles Island. And like the distressing thing is like there's a couple of things. I mean, it's all distressing, but it's like when he meets that girl, what did I say her name?
Something.
I don't remember what her name.
The girl from Hot Shots.
The girl from Hot Shots, but she got exported because she's Muslim, right?
Oh yeah.
And then when Snake is being introduced, when they're on basically the Ellis Island of Los Angeles, like they have all those groups of people that were like, hey, you don't have to go to the island. You can just like talk to a priest and repent, and then we'll electrocute you. Which is like, I mean, not a great option, but also maybe
better than that.
Maybe better.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny if LA today were to have an earthquake and separate off the mainland, it could go two ways. It could go this way.
Yes.
But the way that I think it would go more realistically is it would be bought by all the richest people.
Wow.
And celebrity and famous people. Like it would become an island you can't go to unless you are super wealthy and rich.
That's interesting. I think that's interesting. I don't think it becomes a prison island by any means, but it could be. I mean, that's a thing that they don't really address in this. It's like, where's all the super rich people? I guess they're kind of presupposing all the rich people were like, this place is fucked.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. Which, I mean, that was basically COVID in LA.
Basically.
Like every rich person in New York and LA famously fucked off to small towns.
Yeah. And
that were like, please don't come here while there's a pandemic. Like LA was like half empty during like that first year, I felt like.
Yeah.
Like so many people left. I don't know if truly things were fucked. I feel like all the rich people have an escape hatch and would leave us to just kind of be like, yeah, fuck you guys. Go on.
That's true.
We'll go live in. I actually don't know how far, because it felt like
they're not very far from the coast, because they have that line of people like pointing guns at it so they can see if people are coming towards.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but it also felt like it extended down to Anaheim. So like a pretty big chunk. So like part of Orange County came off.
They mentioned Orange County. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't really get a good handle on how much. Like, could you, if you had a house in Mammoth, are you just in the ocean? That's what it feels like.
Probably. Because there's part when he's in the sub, there's parts that are still underwater.
Yeah.
That is like city, actively city.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that's pretty convenient that this woke capital or woke centralized thing broke off of the Christian peninsula.
Well, yeah, they kind of lucked out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, that's the whole thing. And then you can create, I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about this movie. I can kind of see how it went, where it's like they elected this dude, you have like this very like leftist like epicenter, one of them for the country. It basically falls into the ocean, and then
because of God,
and then all of these people also need aid, so you get to swoop in and be the good guy. So like no one can really, you've almost like all of your some of your biggest detractors now need your help the most.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden you kind of like, you can't really dissent too much, and you kind of have this like not even a soft power, this like very much a power over like federal aid and shit over these people.
But like a Trump type wouldn't even go help. I feel like he wouldn't go do anything.
That's kind of what I was trying to figure out about this movie, is it does feel like they were just like, yeah, well, it's kind of a loss.
Yeah.
I think we're just done.
Put some walls up.
Yeah,
well, I guess it's pretty accurate.
We'll just kind of let them fucking hang out there. Let the poor people fight it out. It's
Australia
not a big deal.
too.
I do feel like that we would just be left if you couldn't afford to get out by like, I don't know, renting a helicopter. I guess we'd just be joining the, what was it, the Koreatown Dragons? I guess that was one of the gangs.
Or the surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was Bruce Campbell either.
Are you shitting me?
I did not realize that. He is so good.
He's so good!
Disgusting.
But this is what I'm talking about. We can skip to that, which is like what I wanted more of, especially when you get to see it had been a while since I'd seen this movie. And like the most iconic part is like Bruce Campbell as the Surgeon General of Beverly
Surgeon
Hills.
General.
And like, if you haven't seen it, it's the one part of the movie that really leans super hard into like, okay, in LA, what's the kind of crazy, campy, like what kind of communities would form?
Subculture there, yeah.
And they basically have the idea that it's a plastic surgery cult,
yeah.
where it's like all the people that had too much plastic surgery, it's like melting off their face and they have to constantly replace their parts.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But I fucking love
But
it.
it's so good. And it's
Yeah.
so like Bioshocky.
Yeah.
And like so kind of, it feels very dystopian. And it's like the fun leap. Cause like most of this movie is like, yeah, it's gangs. And it's like, I don't really want to see just gangs. I want to
Yeah.
see the really fucked up, weird shit. Like this. This
Yeah.
is the corners of LA that I want to see explored in this future.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And the weird thing though is on our other show, LOL JK,
Mhm.
we have talked about surgery
Yes.
and people who become obsessed
Yeah.
with surgery that look scarier than Bruce Campbell in modern times.
The lady with the biggest lips,
The biggest
and the
lips
pointiest
woman.
chin.
Oh my God! Like this,
But
this type
I
of
do
person
think
exists.
she would need help.
Do you mean she would need
I think
more?
structurally, if she was in LA Island,
Yeah.
I think her stuff is so extreme. Structurally, I think it would need help over the years.
Yeah, probably. As her lips melt down to her legs or something.
You wouldn't be able to eat. She's
Yeah.
choking on her lips in the middle of the night. She always has to sleep on her side.
Ugh, those things are so gross.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they're huge.
yeah, they're scarier than Bruce Campbell as the Surgeon General.
Yeah.
But like I do agree. I would like to see more weird culty
Yeah.
section, but I don't know what else we could have in there. Like,
It's almost like if you wanted to be dumb, it'd be like you could have.
oh yeah, obviously.
Obviously, we're dumb, but like you just have like rebel food trucks, I guess, that have banded together.
Ooh,
That
yeah.
could be one. I also was like, what?
food truck battles a la Fury Road.
Yeah, basically you do Fury Road battle cars, but with food trucks.
Or you got the foodies. You have the foodies.
That's what I was thinking. I was
That-
like, who are the foodies? That like cannibals?
Cannibals, 100%.
Yeah, hipster. So then I was like, what's Silver Lake, Echo Park, the
Yeah.
hipster parts? And I was like, foodie. Yes, it's 100% like
Ways to prepare people.
Yes,
Yeah.
someone has like Hannibal style started like a Michelin star restaurant
Yep.
for the hipsters that are left and preparing certain people
100%
for it. Like,
that's good.
so
That's
good.
You could get like, well, I'm trying to think now of everything that I'm coming up with. We'll just be like, how do we use people in a weird way? It's like, oh, like a fashion people. They figure out how to wear skin.
Yes,
You know,
of course.
it's-
It's just using the one. Well, I mean,
The one resource you're gonna
it's the one resource that's replenished,
Yeah,
right? Is
yeah.
constantly people.
Yeah. I think so. I think they could have done more cannibal. In there,
I wish they would have
easily.
done just more stuff. Like even like they go to Disney World and it's like Disney people are such a very
They could have.
specific type of person
They
in
could have-
Southern
Ooh,
California.
They could have been there, and the Disney people
And they
inhabit it.
they become like these weird storybook
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
like their minds twist, and that becomes the reality of living in that place.
Yeah, you're literally warring over the different like areas of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a big cosplay type of
Yes!
like battle over there.
That's such like a very I mean if you live outside of SoCal or like I guess Florida, maybe you wouldn't understand, but like certainly there are Disney people all around the country, but there are Disney people that live near the parks. Like the guy that just broke a record for going to the park like 2,000 days in a row or something, or maybe it was even just 200 something, but it was
What
like
do you do?
an insane. Well, we've talked about that. A guy I used to work with at the horse racing channel broke the record for riding the Cars ride the most amount of times. And you have to listen, he's a lovely man and everything, but all the stereotypes you believe are true about this man are true. So we can leave it at that.
Okay, fine.
Whatever you think, whatever pops in your head about a man that breaks that sort of record, it is 100% true. Lovely gentleman. Very nice. Only good to me. Definitely lives in his mother's basement still.
Okay.
100%.
We got the plastic surgeries. We got the cannibals. We got the Disney
Fury,
cosplayers.
we got the Fury Road food trucks.
Fury Road food trucks. And then the only other one that I could think of would be like people into classic cars or something. But that might
could
step
go
on
into-
too much with the food trucks.
You could fold it into that. My other thing was extreme wellness people.
Ooh, yeah.
Like you could have like people that are super into crystals
yeah.
and like star signs and shit and yoga and shit like that. I feel like you could have a really dangerous, hippie, witchy,
where they
magic
eat
cult.
people.
Well,
where they
in that
figure
one-
out how to
in that
use
one,
people.
They're like they use your bones to grind down because they think it's like a boner pill.
Yeah.
Or like
It's
something
got
like that.
the same
once
word.
Again, same thing. It's the only replenishing resource. All right.
Bones.
They need
boner.
They need fresh blood. They need fresh bones for their bones. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good 5. I'd play those levels.
Yeah, you want the goop. So the last one is basically the goop. It's the goop people.
Yes.
It's run by Gwyneth Paltrow,
But
in
they're-
like the hills.
But above, they're in the hill, and then inside the hill is the goop, which
which is made of
which
people.
is made of liquid people. They are the only source of the goop, which is the only food source on the island that is.
What would you eat? You're right. It's
The
like,
goop.
You only can eat the goop and new people. What is everyone eating? There's not drop-offs. Like there's not that many coyotes. I can't imagine you're fishing off the coast or anything like that.
Yeah, they never really address that.
I don't know
they?
who. I mean, they must be eating people.
They must be.
It must be pervasive.
I mean, they could maybe be. There could be drop-offs, which would then that'd be where people would swarm it, and then that's how they gain power.
Basically, when they bring you over on the ferry, it's like young sea turtles heading for the water. Like you're just like, well, you better sprint from the
better
boat
make
to
it.
cover because people gonna get you, and they're gonna eat you immediately.
cover your head,
Cover your head, guys.
get in there. Yeah, it's a good point. Well, I think we already made a more interesting version of LA Island.
It is. I guess that's my one thing is like it. They did such a good job of getting the really broad strokes of an America that would set up this sort of island. And then they get on the island, and the really fun thing should be all the weird LA subcultures
Yeah.
that like maybe people don't know about, or like, well, that's like the plastic surgery thing is so fun because
It's so fun.
everyone knows. Like everyone is like, yeah, everyone's plastic surgery obsessed. Like everyone knows that. And you
Yeah.
can play into those tropes. And like, I wish that was all the people that you
It wasn't
encountered.
just those and motorcycle gang
And then
regular
militant,
gangs,
which also
gang leaders.
whatever, that revolution. I don't know how you stage a revolution from a prison, but I guess he had access to VR. So it's fine.
Apparently, so it's not all bad.
Yeah,
I
so,
guess.
yeah, it's pretty chill. I don't know who brought over a VR headset for
Yeah.
him, but I don't know. I mean, that's the other thing. Okay, it's 2013. Okay, so it fell off in 2000. So by 2013,
You
we
got
had
VR.
pervasive VR technology, which means in that 13 years, someone brought over VR headsets.
And you're talking to someone that looks like Lawnmower Man
Yeah.
on the
I
other
guess-
side, being like releasing your CGI dove.
So I guess we're also assuming, just throwing it out there,
Okay.
that one of the good things about this terrible America is that they have made
Affordable VR.
countrywide free Wi-Fi
It's probably
that's
true.
good enough to run your VR headset through.
Yeah, I suppose.
So we got one good thing: infrastructure. So like, you don't have any freedoms, you can't eat red meat, but infrastructure is great. The roads don't have potholes. There's maybe public transportation now. Maybe they built trains.
and the
free
president's
Wi-Fi.
name is just President.
President.
So you don't even have to learn.
I
new
love that.
names.
That means when he clones himself, inevitably, it's the future. When he clones himself, he
It's
can
like
just keep being
Foundation.
president. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I love this future. so good. Now I want to have a little bit of a future tech spotlight. There's a couple fun little gadgets throughout this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you have a personal favorite? One of them plays very big into the plot that we'll discuss in a second. But did you have a favorite technology?
I know you even call it out in your list here.
Please talk about it.
I love future technology that is our technology but tiny.
That's my favorite.
I don't know why that makes me be like, ooh, it's so high tech.
It's like you're talking about the tiny CD-ROMs.
The tiny CDs that are like thumbnail size. I'm like, that thing is fancy.
I mean, it's my favorite thing in the world that they were like, we can't possibly move beyond CD-ROMs. It's the pinnacle of data storage.
Yeah.
We'll just make it smaller. We couldn't have possibly anticipated flash drives.
No. But this disc, like the
Yes.
way that they do it, it's like,
yes.
this does the exact same thing that you know about.
Yes.
But it's this big.
This tiny.
So it's not even
has-
saying
this, you could burn 5 musical CDs onto this.
this isn't even saying this thing is like has a crazy amount
Yeah.
of storage. It has normal amounts of CD
Normal
storage.
amount of storage. It's just
but
smaller.
It's smaller.
Can you imagine? I just like kept thinking about if you, okay, in the future, you get in your future car, it has tiny CD disc ROM,
just like-
and then you pull out your tiny,
Tiny
sleeve,
wallet.
your tiny sleeve, CD wallet sleeve, and you're like going through it, and you're like, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's listen to One Headlight.
And then you hit a bottle and swallow it.
I swallowed my CD collection. Oh no.
Oh man.
Oh, it's just, yeah, you just hit one that, God, you drop it into a grate and it's like, God damn it, that's all of the Green Day CDs. Fuck, that's Dookie and the other ones.
Dookie 2
Dookie
in the
2.
future.
In the future, they do Dookie 2 remastered.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot in movies, but there's some sort of magic trick
It's the best.
that if it's a small thing that you recognize, you'd be like, that's a future version.
It's first of all, it is like, it's good shorthand
Yes.
for this is future.
And I know what that does.
And I know what this does, but it is also clearly creatively bankrupt. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a good version of this, which I'm sure, I mean, I don't know how far, but it's like the good version is Minority Report stuff,
Yeah.
where everything's kind of recognizable, but you're like, I can see where this is going.
He's
and
having to move a lot.
It's different enough to where it's like kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like, there's undeniable the shorthand of just smaller CD is very good.
It's very good. And like, I don't know if it's like the Matrix in me or,
Yeah.
like growing up with the Matrix being
Yes.
like, that is technology. It's
Mhm.
like the fact that the thing that the CD is housed in flips up.
It's great. I love anything that flips up.
Yeah. It like lifts,
Slides.
up there.
Yeah.
That's the word. And then it goes in there. Like nothing about that is something that probably could not have been made when the movie was made.
Yeah.
But they just don't explain it enough.
Yeah.
That I'm like, that's the future.
Also, the controllers that they keep putting the CD-ROM into is just a calculator. But the fact that it like slides open, you're like, that's pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay,
Stuff
so
doesn't
you're
slide
so
open
you're telling me
enough.
this is a calculator where I can play all my music? This is awesome. This is better than a Zune.
Could I talk on this?
Can I talk on this? Oh my God. Is this a phone? Did you invent smartphone? Can you imagine? How cool would it be
Yeah.
if you have your fucking iPhone, you have your Android,
And you could slide
and
it
you
up.
could put a tiny CD-ROM into it?
I would do it.
It'd be amazing.
I would do it.
It's so good. I don't know why
I
we
could fit at least 3 songs.
Is there? We got to talk to someone. There's got to be a practical reason for tiny CD-ROM.
Well, they used to make those
I know.
business cards.
Yes.
That I would always be afraid were going to fuck up my computer because they would like. You had to have the CD drive that had the inset for the
Yes.
smaller discs.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
if it flipped out of that, it would just
Yes.
bang around inside there and like.
We did. I did forget until you just mentioned. We did flirt with smaller CD technology for a little bit.
And
It was-
GameCubes.
Yeah, and and fucking GameCubes were all the smaller ones, which I still have my sleeve. I don't have a GameCube anymore, but I have my sleeve that's the size of the GameCube disc.
Yeah, I still have all those.
God, can you imagine that for tiny CDs? I love
It's,
it
it's
so
like
much.
half the size of a GameCube disc.
Yeah.
It's small.
Yeah, we flirted
And it
with
has a red dot on it. That is also future-y.
Yeah.
CDs that look like a CD don't have like a graphic on the CD,
Yeah,
CD
yeah.
part.
I love that.
But even though I don't know how that technology works,
yeah.
it still feels wrong when they touch it.
Oh, yeah.
When they
You're
pick
like-
it up
yeah,
and
yeah,
hold
you're
it
like,
by the CD,
Don't
I'm
get,
like,
you'll get fingerprints on
you
that.
gotta
Don't do
hold it
that.
by the edge.
Don't do that. You're gonna get it's not gonna read it.
yeah,
It's not gonna read the information.
you're gonna have to wipe peanut butter on it or something.
Assholes. Have you never scratched a disc before? What are you doing?
Maybe in the future they're scratch-proof discs. That's where the actual. That's
That-
where the actual.
That
tech
would be
came
the
from.
one good thing. It's like I don't want to scratch my StarCraft disc. That
Has
sucks.
my key on it.
And it's got my key. That won't be able to play it anymore.
But in your future tech, I think that's my favorite because the rest of it is so like
It's all pretty underwhelming.
it's like a boring version of something that's impossible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like the EMP satellite is like, yeah, I don't know. Sure.
I could see that being
I can see it being a thing.
a thing.
Why not?
Yeah.
Or like, well, or
Which is very similar to Akira's. Like there's a thing in space.
yeah,
that
we
can just
really
shoot down.
chose multiple satellite murder weapons.
Yeah.
But then there's also the Plutoxin 7, which I guess which once again is kind of not even that almost doesn't even count because they're like it's a designer virus, and I was like, oh yeah, and then at the end they're like,
It's the flu.
it's the flu, idiot, dumb bastard.
a designer virus. Yeah, but see that if that were here, they would scratch him with Plutoxin 7
Yes,
and then it would turn into COVID.
yes,
Like so I think we outdid them.
I think we did it. I think we nailed it.
I think we got
I think
that
our
one.
future we nailed the designer drugs.
Mhm.
Now, did it come from a Wuhan lab? I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know for sure. But it could have been a designer drug. No one knows.
Designer virus.
A designer virus. Oh, designer drugs are good too.
I'm also a fan of those.
could have done that. But I what I really want to talk about is holograms.
So much holograms.
But there's not even that much. It's like hologram heavy at the beginning and then hologram heavy at the end. And in between,
no hologram.
no hologram
But-
anywhere.
The way the holograms work make no sense.
Oh,
No sense.
no sense.
That it doesn't even seem like something that could potentially ever be possible.
Yeah.
Like even now,
Yeah.
the closest thing we have is like a VR setup where you can see how my hands are moving as I'm talking.
Yeah.
But then if I take all that stuff off, I melt into like a puddle. Like my figure
So
melts
cool.
into a puddle.
It's one of those things where like the only one that was believable is at the beginning when they're talking to him and they're in the room. And then it's like they're in another room
Yeah.
next to
Standing the exact same way.
it, which is very funny.
It is funny.
It's funny that it's that limited. But it was like I remember in that room though, they initially are like it wasn't a hologram. When you first see it, there's just a screen. And I was like, oh, weird that they're not going hologram. They're just can make Air TV screen. And then it expands into a room engulfing hologram and like flickers a little bit. I was like, oh, thank God it's a hologram. I was so relieved because I was like, Air TV sucks.
Yeah.
It's even worse than hologram. But the big thing, which also at the beginning, when they're walking him through, then they're in a hologram when they're interviewing him or like interrogating him, telling him the deal. And then later on, they give him guns and they aren't holograms.
And they aren't holograms.
And it's like, the one time you should have been holograms is when you gave the man guns.
well, because they had to hand him something.
You could walk him through the room as a
That's
hologram
true.
and be
You'd
like,
be like,
pick up the
Your
gun,
guns are on
dumb
the table.
dumb.
But they had to hand him the thing.
It's
so they
wild.
couldn't be hand grabbed. Oh yeah, no, they're blanks.
Yeah, no, they're blanks. It's like that is
Also, I
unnecessarily
can't hear
complicated.
anymore.
Yeah. Also, blanks can hurt you, bud.
Yeah, they can.
Don't you know the tragedy of the crow? The
In this future,
The crow exists in this future. That movie exists.
Oh,
It's
that's
happened.
true.
Brandon Lee's dead.
in Escape from LA's future,
Yeah.
the crow happened. They should.
The crow
know better.
happened.
Yeah,
Right? That all makes sense. Yeah.
hologram, that realistic.
Yeah.
that what's the word? Convincing.
Yeah.
I think we are extremely far away from, if not never gonna happen.
It's like laser guns.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
something that you would think by now would be
Yeah, it feels like we would have nailed it by now, but it feels tough.
like we still can't fucking get Zoom working most of the time. Like that's as close as we have to a hologram.
I've had issues with Zoom,
yeah.
and
It's-
I'm mostly competent.
This is 10
I
years
think.
past.
Yeah.
For 10 years
We're
past
10
these
years
working,
past this future.
past the working holograms.
So dumb that we don't have one. The thing that I like is they give him this they give Snake a mini hologram camera, and it's big at the end where like the ending he projects a version of himself and
Yeah.
during the double cross. But the thing that I first of all, that doesn't make sense how that works because there's no
Where's the
projector.
other- yeah,
I
where's the
don't know what
hologram?
the projector is.
It beams it there.
From space, I fucking guess, or the Wi-Fi that's all around us in this future.
It forms
Perhaps
the
it's
Wi-Fi particles.
Yeah, it's taking
It's-
ones and zeros and metadata and making it into a physical form, I guess.
But see, the problem with their holograms is
Yes.
that it also assumes that they can hear and see everything that their hologram can hear and see,
Which you could not.
which you could not. But then also, if that were a thing
Yeah.
that we had,
Yeah.
I would just like suddenly manifest into your living room and just be like, show you my ass, and then I would phase out.
I also would. Yeah, you'd haunt people.
you could
So
you
you,
could haunt
if you
people
had
into
this
your life.
technology, you would just haunt your friends and family. You just like come out and you have your balls like all scrunched up like,
Like
a
a brain.
bouquet, like a brain, and then you just fade away and you're like, God damn it, I was taking a shit. Why did he do this? Sure, that's exactly
Like,
how the technology would work.
You just finished making this beautiful meal that you
Yeah.
spent hours on. I phase in.
Yeah.
I put my dick like through your steak. It's not actually touching it,
Obviously not. Can't.
but every time you take a bite, you just see
You
me
know.
slather my
Yeah.
digital junk all across all your
Yeah.
stuff, and it's the only thing you can think
Yeah.
while you're eating this beautiful meal.
Yeah.
And then I do the same thing every day for the rest
Every
of your
night
life.
forever. Yeah. I don't want this to exist.
I don't think they should.
I don't think they should make it. We rarely ask if we should when it comes to technological advances.
Right.
And this one, we should not.
It took me about 45 seconds to be like, what would I do with that?
I'd put
I'm
my
gonna
balls
put my
on
junk on
stuff.
stuff.
I would put my balls on stuff because I can't. It's not illegal.
It's not.
It's not illegal because I'm technically not really nude.
Yeah, and then you cut to my house
Yeah.
and it's just me waving my junk at the air, like
An empty home.
because my wife has
Everyone's
left me.
left.
my wife and kids have abandoned
Yeah.
me.
I don't have enough time to work, take care of my children, and haunt my
Haunt.
friends. It's fine.
That would make haunted houses really fucking good, though.
It would make them really good. My only other thing it's a little tidbit that they do a couple things for the future technology is that everything is nuclear powered.
I heard that and I was like, I misheard that.
They
and
were
then I
like-
didn't go back.
The hologram camera that he has runs on a mini nuke battery.
A mini nuke.
So that is assumed that it's a nuclear battery. Then the other thing is in the sub, it's a mini nuclear sub, and they keep calling when he like floors it and like all the stuff is heating up and it's
Yeah.
gonna like, I don't know,
Melt?
tiny Chernobyl meltdown.
Yeah.
But they keep calling it the power plant. They're like, the power plant's getting too hot. I'm like, why are you calling
your
this-
reactor on the
your
sub
reactor on the sub a fucking power plant?
And I also just
That was just someone couldn't think of the word. That's the problem with pre-internet writing. Is they
You couldn't thesaurus.
3 of them could not think of like reactor.
Reactor.
And so they put power
Yeah,
in the
power
script.
plant. I just, since you brought it back up, I was willing
Yeah.
to let it go.
Okay.
But that entrance, or like that entrance to the island through the sub,
Yes.
visuals aside,
Underwater. Which also, visuals aside, I think it also is another moment that plays to like, if you know LA, you know what freeway they're on, and that's kind of fun.
Sure,
All right, go ahead.
it makes him look like a complete dingus.
Yeah, there's no reason.
He belly flops up onto the island,
Yeah.
and then tries to hold the sub as
Yeah.
it sinks into the water. It makes him look like he has no fucking idea what he's doing.
It is one of the, I think they're trying to be like, he doesn't have the time to take a leisurely thing. But it's like, listen, we all know how it is. It's like speeding. Sure, you can go 20 miles over the speed limit, but it's not going to really get you
You
there.
get, like,
but
2
you're not
more
really
minutes.
going to spend. You're not going to save time. It wouldn't matter. Just be safe, Snake.
Yeah.
You don't need a fucking. We don't need like a Japanese reactor problem.
Yeah. And then you wasted all the time you saved trying to keep your ship from falling back into the ocean.
Yeah.
And then alerting everyone that you're there.
And then you're alerting the murder surfers, which don't really
Another
come up
gang.
again. Another gang. Which
There we
is
go.
another subculture, which is like, once again, it kind of gives you hope again, where you're like, oh yeah, of course. He's on the coast.
Yeah.
He'll run into murder surfers. That makes sense. Sure.
He should have. The murder surfers, though, could only exist on the opposite side of the island that's not
That is
facing the
not-
states,
Yes, that's true.
which is exactly where he was
Yes.
because of all the guns and protection.
That's a pretty good detail, I guess.
So yeah, they would have to be on the west side of the
Yeah.
island,
Yeah.
even though they weren't. Whatever.
Whatever.
The
That's
surfers,
fine.
the surfers are like, they have no allegiance. They can be bought though.
Yeah.
The surfers do not like control any territory. Obviously,
Can't control the ocean.
can't control the ocean, but they know how to tame it,
Yeah.
as we saw
yes. Yes.
later.
As we knew. Okay. Listen, we don't need to go into the movie.
No, we
but I
don't.
feel like we've opened something and we just have to talk about it. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. At some point, Snake Plissken surfs through the middle of LA, and it's not just that he's surfing. He is engaging in a car chase with Steve Buscemi while on a surfboard, which
While talking to someone surfing by him.
I know what I'm saying. Sounds like the raddest shit ever. And it 100% could have been.
Could have been.
But it is not. And like, listen, I'll maybe we'll talk about it a little in the Patreon bonus segment, but I'll bring it up because I think it's worth noting, because I think a lot of people will watch this and listen, the CGI is a problem. It's very distracting in a
Yes.
way that is like almost to the point to where, like, for me, like even as a B movie, it's like it's a bit much.
Yeah.
But there's a Shout Factory version of the 4K Blu-ray that came out, and in it they actually interview the CGI like supervisor, whose name is David Jones, and he is very, as I noted, this movie's like 3 years after Jurassic Park, so we had seen the best and the
Yes.
future of CGI, and basically the guy, which I mean, listen, it takes a big man to admit this, but he's basically just like, listen, it wasn't the limitations of the technology. I just didn't know what I was doing.
Oh.
I was 2 years into the industry and they entrusted me with this big thing. And he even pitched the surfing thing. He pitched that sequence to them, which
Wow.
is, once again,
a good sequence.
fucking awesome pitch. Like
Yeah.
an apocalyptic future in LA. Fuck yeah. Someone should surf a tsunami down
city.
fucking Sunset Boulevard. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't make it work. And it's pretty
It's
tough to see on the screen
rough.
for sure. Yeah.
But not only that, it has like, again, not getting in too far in the movie. It's
Yeah.
just like he just happened upon. It's like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
one road he can go down
Yeah,
surfing.
yeah.
That just so happens to be the one road the guy that he's
That
trying to
seems-
find
yeah.
drives down that
Yeah.
he can then leap
Yeah.
off his surfboard.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's a thing you want to avoid in writing. You want coincidences.
so the movie can happen.
You want coincidences to happen to get your character in trouble, but not to get them out of the trouble.
Yes.
Or push them along. But I mean, overall, I had fun watching it. It's not a
Sure.
good movie, but I think it's like, if someone was showing a midnight matinee of this and I could see it with a crowd of people,
Midnight Matinee.
I
is-
would
is
watch the
anachronic-
fuck out of this.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic.
Isn't it matinee like an early movie?
Oh yeah, sorry, midnight screening, I guess is what we'd say. Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
It's not
Midnight
right.
Matinees kind of has
Midnight
a good
matinee
ring.
is pretty good. They should call it that.
That'd be cheap.
It should be
shitty
cheaper,
movies.
cheap shitty movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall a fun movie. I understand the cult status of it's a pretty scary world.
Scarily accurate.
Yeah, scarily accurate. So I guess the real big question, we have two questions that we really need to take away.
Yes.
Which is, in the future of 2013 that you saw in Escape from LA, what is one of the things that you would take forward with you into our current future? What do you want?
I want VR that's that good.
Yeah, that's good VR.
That's good VR.
Because straight up, he was just himself.
Himself
Yeah.
didn't have like a
Meta just got pants.
I mean, Meta. If
Meta just got pants.
Meta just got paid. Meta looks like yourself if only you are Mark Zuckerberg.
Meta looks like yourself if you want to fuck me's. He invented me's.
Again.
Once again, he's like, I feel like that's half of what he does. He's like, guys, look, I invented avatars. It's like, those look like me's. I had a Wii. That is a me.
Those look like Xbox 360 avatars, which look like me's.
Yes. Once again, we're all going back.
Yeah.
Nintendo nailed it in one. They got it.
I want VR so convincing you can convince people to come to a criminal island
Yes.
by releasing
to do a coup d'etat with you. Which we didn't even address in this future. All of South America is attacking
right
the U.S., which is pretty much just breezed over.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the kill button, which is what you're on your way to go get.
Yeah.
You're gonna shut them all down anyway.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be like that could have. Well, I guess it wouldn't have convinced Snake. I was like, that's the pressure.
Yeah.
But that's the pressure the government is on to justify why they're pressuring him to do this thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Good
They
VR.
They didn't really need it, but good VR is great. I would take the game of murder basketball with me because I think it would be fun to watch. I think you need to expand it. I think there need to be teams. I think but if it's like 5-on-5, if you don't make a basket, someone's shot. And so your team gets smaller and smaller.
When you say murder basketball, though,
Yeah.
the first thing that comes to my mind is some sort of more like Mutant League football,
Sure.
like where
I would accept that as
where
well.
weapons,
Yeah.
are included or some sort of
Yes.
obstacle. Because if the obstacle is just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
person getting tired,
Yeah.
that is boring,
I have to say that
and not everyone's going
It-
to be able to wing a.
the bummer about that sequence is in the middle of this movie, they go to the LA Coliseum, and inside the LA Coliseum, they're basically having gladiator battles. And which is fun. I mean, it's a pretty like surface level idea,
Yeah.
and it's pretty fun. And like you kind of are like, oh, they're going to lean into the Thunderdome of it all.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like weapons on a cage, or like he's going to have to fight someone. And then what they decided on is just
10
full,
point.
full court horse, I guess.
Full court
with,
horse
with
for
him
yourself.
by himself. And the thing is just, I guess Kurt Russell was like, I'm pretty good at basketball. And he was like, I guess I could show that off. I don't know.
Do you think he made
That's
that?
a baffling decision to me. I don't understand it.
Did he actually make that full court?
I hope so. Because if he didn't make it, that's the best CGI in the whole movie.
I know, which makes me think he did make it based on what the rest of it
It
looks like.
kind of does feel that way. Because I was really paying attention because I knew it was coming up,
Yeah.
and because they milk it for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was like leaning in to be like, is it CGI? Do we think it's real?
We should look it up after this.
We should.
I wonder if
actually.
it's.
I'm sure it's an IMDb trivia about whether
Yeah.
they made it or not. Anyway, Murder Basketball seems pretty fun, even though it could have been.
I'd watch
cooler.
it.
I think I'd spruce it up
Oh yeah, yeah.
for sure. It's a team sport.
More
I
nu-
have changes.
More nudity.
I have
more like
More weapons, more nudity.
more of a crescendo
Yeah.
instead of 0 to
Absolutely.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be like
I want something I can make an afternoon out of, or an evening. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like going to a game.
Yeah.
If you're going to the Coliseum in a post-apocalyptic world, that's a big deal.
like
That's really fun.
I want to see people try to make baskets with no hands. You know,
Listen.
I can already make.
I
this
don't
better.
love that, but
Just
it's what I thought maybe this would be. If you're going to do basketball, that's
Can you just imagine
yeah.
holding the basketball between your two nubs?
Yeah.
It's
There's
slippery too.
I'm 100% sure we can go on YouTube and we're gonna find someone with no arms that can perfectly lay up.
No, I'm talking
basketball.
about like fresh.
No, I
off
know
at
what you
the
mean
wrist.
stubs. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, no, it'd be listen,
Because it would be painful.
it's a better version.
Better murder basketball.
Well, and then it's more like what you do is you immediately chop them off, and then the ticking time is make 5 baskets before you bleed out. And then if you make the baskets,
They'll tie you off.
then they'll cauterize your wrists.
Ah, that is good. That is a better timer.
Yeah, way better.
I feel like it's a very variable one, but it is
Yeah.
a good one.
Well, it'll change from person to person.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess the question is, would you live in this future of 2013?
I mean, if I weren't in LA, I'd be like, we are.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like, I mean, that future definitely sucks a lot more than what we're currently in.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
it feels like, wait, we're really hurtling towards it right now.
If Trump wins the next presidential election, we will be 90% of the way there. The only thing that
There's
is
so many people that could win that gets us there, basically. at
yeah,
this
I think
point.
he's the biggest one though, because that is like, there's people I disagree with,
Yeah.
and then there's people that are just categorically wrong and bad at the
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
still, trafficking on the stupidity of the bulk of the people.
Yeah.
That I think, well, I guess that trends us towards Idiocracy, but which I've only seen the beginning of that movie. It just if we get to that, then I've upset myself to the point that I forgot the point.
I totally
made.
get what you're saying. Listen, the point is that in general, you're like, it would be fine. For us,
it would be fine.
as white, kind of. I mean, if we were living that future and they were like, "Are you Christian?" We'd be like, "Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
all right,
whatever.
yeah, whatever." For us in this future, if you're living in Middle America, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's a
nothing's
bummer
different.
to not have booze or weed, but
I guess
I guess it's fine.
just don't get thrown to the island,
Yeah.
and I think you're good.
See, for me personally, I would live in this future post EMP blast. I think
The hard reset.
it's like
That's apocalypse though. Then
Yeah, but this is the one type of apocalypse that I think that I'm better equipped for than most people in America for sure.
because of Eagle Scouts.
Eagle Scouts. I think I'm better equipped for it, and because I literally also have the gear to survive. And then on top of it, I think it's the softest apocalypse. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not
At
nuclear destruction. It's not like, I
But-
just feel like it's more survivable.
But Kyle, we're the monsters all along.
Yes, don't get me wrong. I get eventually it goes Last of Us, where it's like everyone's terrible.
Everyone murders everyone.
But I think I do pretty good. I think I do okay. I think it'd be kind of relaxing.
I think I wouldn't want to bother with it.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Don't get me wrong. It's
I ain't
a
got that in
lot
me,
of
dude.
work.
I'm almost 40.
I'm not trying to make you be a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that would be my preferred. This is not my preferred future, but if you're like, would you want to do it? I'd be like, yeah, post EMP blast. I guess I'd be like,
Would you
Fine.
immediately set out? Which
it's a good question. I mean, it depends on where we live. I mean,
you're
obviously
still
in
in the
this future,
city-
I'm not in LA.
yeah,
So that means
you're in the woods somewhere.
yeah. So like maybe you do set out. I don't know. I feel like initially, I think first days of any apocalypse, you're holding up in your house, hoping for the best. So I'd be like
Yeah.
anyone else, I feel like.
Okay,
But eventually you got to be like,
I need to find some way to sustain this.
yeah,
and rather than like raiding grocery stores,
yeah,
I feel like you pack up all your stuff and you set out with no
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
And then you just find a place
Yeah.
that has a water that has,
then I start my goop cult.
you start your goop.
And then
You-
I start gathering goop.
Well, you can go swim to LA and get some
Yeah.
goop.
Listen, inevitably, it's just, I guess the whole nation just slowly descends into its own Los Angeles island. So
Probably.
that's fine. All right, maybe I wouldn't do it.
Goop-
Seems like a lot of work.
Goop takes over the world as
Fine.
it was always meant to.
As it was always meant to be. Well, I think that about wraps it up for
Yes.
Escape from Los Angeles, a 2013 future,
Which we are currently kind of living.
which we are currently hurtling towards here in America. So, of course, please check us out on all of our socials and subscribe and follow us. We will insert a voice here with all of those.
You can find links to the audio and video version of the show, as well as our Patreon, over at yestomtoday.com. That's yestomtoday.com.
We got to do the arms thing.
The
every time.
arms. And then, yes, and then for those of you that have joined our Patreon, we will have a bonus segment where we just kind of talk about our favorite John Carpenter movies, one of my favorite subjects in the world. Yeah, the Patreon this is of course a limited series right now, so the Patreon is a pretty good place to be. We only have one price level, and anything y'all can give to help us out and help it keep going, it always helps to have money in the coffers to pay for gas and upgrade equipment and just kind of
Gauge if people want this.
Gauge if people, honestly, more than paying us for our time, you're just showing us that you're into it. So,
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. Anyway, that's all we got for this episode of Yesterday's Tomorrow Today. Join us again, and we'll talk about another future that has passed us by. I've been Kyle McVeigh.
I'm Joey Reinish.
Thanks, guys.
I really want to go. Please.
That was fun, and thanks for listening to Explosion Magic